my religious upbringing, or lack thereof. So basically, I believe in God, so that's nice, or a God, or some gods. Basically, when it comes to religion, I'm kind of like a yeah, sure, why not approach. And I guess looking back about why that is, my parents had a lot to do, like most of us, with my religious upbringing. I was raised by my dad, who in turn was raised by some crazy, very serious Christians in Switzerland. So, I called them like the really Christians. I actually found out, this is an aside, later that I actually think my grandfather was a never nude. And I'm not kidding. That is another entirely separate story. But anyway, my dad left all that behind when he moved to Canada and started his new life here in Calgary. And it was the 70s, and he decided he would start fresh. And his religion in this newfound land was he took this blend of like animism, like where you believe there's a spirit in everything, and rocks and plants and trees, and some weird New Age stuff, and the Carlos Castaneda books. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Carlos Castaneda. He was an anthropologist, I believe, who wrote a series of popular books on, documenting the ancient teachings of Don Juan, who's a Mexican shaman and sorcerer. And later it was exposed that he was less of a documenter and more of a fiction writer. And that didn't stop book sales. They continued to sell millions and millions of copies. And it didn't stop my dad from adopting that as the core tenet of his religion. So that was super handy. That was the religious environment that I was raised in, based on a story from a book that was totally made up. There's some interesting things in it, but completely made up, totally unlike regular mainstream religion. I do remember in my 7th birthday, he took me for a walk in a field and asked me to make a choice that would determine the outcome of the rest of my life, which was, did I want to choose the path of a warrior? And as outlined in the Carlos Castaneda books, did I want to choose the path of a warrior, or whatever the other option was, which was never completely spelled out, but it was made clear that that was for losers. So, I was 7, and my birthday party was going on, and I'm like, I am going to choose the path of a warrior, and so I did that. And at the time, I remember being pretty unclear what that meant, and still today, I don't know what that meant I was supposed to become or be, but that's what happened. So, as I said, I was raised by my dad. My parents divorced when I was little, and my mom and my siblings were in Calgary, and I was raised in small town BC, which was nice. But spiritually wise, my mom took a really different path. She remarried a few times. It was a bit of a habit. And throughout that journey, she became a born-again Christian, and she turned on her party gal ways. And therefore all my siblings were raised like in a really hardcore Christian house. So no booze, no swearing, no Halloween, no secular music. It sounded really fun. So there I was being raised that, there's a energy in everything, and I should experiment with life. Later on he's like, yeah, totally go try drugs, that'll be awesome. Coyotes are a great source of spiritual advice. I'm actually not kidding. So again, a whole other story. And then my siblings were raised very religious, again, no music, youth group, and those really scary rapture videos or movies. I don't know if anyone is traumatized by those. So I'd spend summers with my mom and my brothers and sisters here in Calgary, and, as I matured and as someone who had chosen the path of a warrior, I decided to rebel, and I rebelled in the best way that I could. Here I am, a kid, raised by a hippie guy in the Kootenays. I mean, my name is January Lark, if that's giving you any indication. So I rebelled by becoming a born-again Christian. Oh. Praise Jesus! So I think it was the summer that I was 14, and my mom had me baptized in front of the really big church, and I said some holy tongue words, and I'm pretty sure they're just a bunch of sounds I made up, and she knew that, but that's okay. So I wasn't really good at it, but I was really trying very hard. And, on the flip side, my siblings were raised in a very serious religious home. And so much so that when they were little kids, that every time my mom was late, they would cry because it was obvious she'd been raptured. They'd been left behind. But good news, everyone, that didn't actually happen. So here I was, in all honesty, not really feeling it. But every night I would pray that I would be consumed by the fire and passion of the Holy Spirit to become a really good Christian. And it didn't happen. I tried again, it was super hard. But thinking back on it now, I understand why my dad was so mad that I came back from summer holidays a Pentecostal Christian. Just, very much like I guess they weren't Pentecostal, but kept coming back. He had escaped a very rigorous religious home, and then I brought it back. And he actually had felt that my mom had tricked me into becoming Christian or manipulated me so she could add another soul to her card. And I kind of imagine that it was like a coffee card. You get like the 10 souls, you get one free. So I spent most of my teens as very much of a half-assed Christian. And that was my rebellion. And my siblings also rebelled here in Calgary. Where in my case, I was a real bad kid and I was saying grace and tithing 10% of my income and stopping swearing and promising to God I would never do drugs except for probably mushrooms, because come on, God, this seemed pretty fun. And so yeah, my brothers and sisters, they were smoking and fighting and dropping acid and getting knocked up in high school. So it does make you wonder which parental path worked out better. So so as much as I read the Bible and prayed to have the passion of Christ and required to be a good Christian warrior, I didn't have it in me. Couldn't get into it. So on the flip side, I couldn't really get back into what my dad had taught me because I didn't understand what the fuck he was talking about. It was tough. So here I was after my Carlos Castaneda-fueled childhood. I was a lukewarm Pentecostal Christian. I kept it up half-heartedly into university, and my siblings, in the meantime, were witnessing. Sorry, Heather. I've upset Heather. So my siblings were actually witnessing exorcisms in churches, and I was at the university church where it was more like I was mumbling along to the songs and avoiding eye contact during fellowship. So a very different experience. And so I guess, this is the time in the story where you should have a turning point and an arc and a big experience to shift the story. But that is the thing that the story of my religion is missing, is that. So, I wish that there is one thing that happened that changed my way of being or helped me figure things out, but consistent with my total lack of, conviction on anything, I have no strong turning point in my story. So basically, I figured that when it comes to religion, whether it's New Age hippie stuff or Christianity or whatever, I feel I get the general principles. You should be nice to each other, that seems nice. And I get the idea of asking for help and guidance from an invisible, all-powerful being, or beings. When things in your real life get tough, I'm like, that makes sense. So most people I know who are raised really religious become atheists. But in case you missed it, I really do lack strong convictions on anything. And atheism is really a strong choice. So instead, I went in completely the opposite direction. I've decided I kind of believe in everything, and it's a lot easier. And so now that I'm an adult, I have decided that, I'm not Carlos Castaneda-style warrior. I'm not a Christian warrior. And the core of my personal religious beliefs are basically that you really can't be sure of anything. So, don't be so fussy about it. I don't know. Am I starting a new cult here? I don't know. And that what you believe doesn't really need to impact me. We can still be friends. That's cool. And you should really just be nice to people because God or no God, it makes life easier. So in conclusion, if I think, do I believe in God or a God? And I'm like, sure, I think I do. I believe that there are prophets. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, they seem like super nice guys with a bunch of nice ideas. Mostly, it's the people, when they get in the way, that stuff gets messed up. Ancestral spirits providing you guidance. Sure. Witchcraft, yep. Ghosts, I'm not crazy. Of course I believe in ghosts. Reincarnations, voodoo, positive affirmations, the whole shebang. It's like Scientology, hey. Not that far. But yeah, thank you, and God's bless.